penultimate episode was upon us, and it had me scratching my head with a couple of decisions. At breakfast, I didn't think Ben's supposed slip-up was as distinguishable as he might have thought.
I messed up.
They might have killed Will because he doesn't really have to be close to anyone.
He was the most random man ever, wasn't he?
I wouldn't have caught it if it wasn't for his confessional. I wasn't convinced that the choice of murder was the correct one. Choosing Wilkin leaves Ben and Nick as the only men left. If any of the women finally stop looking at each other and believe at least one of the men are traitors, then that leaves it open for Ben and or Nick to be voted out. Ben and Nick might think Wilkin is too unpredictable with his vote, but he would be an easy candidate for the others to vote for. Let's not forget, Wilkin received a lot of votes in the first roundtable. The last pair Ben and Nick had to break were Owen and Vanessa. The traitors could have got rid of them while the faithful vote out the other. That's what I thought at the start, but the way everything played out, it might just have been the best decision, but there was another decision that might prove to be a bigger mistake. I'm gonna totally veer off course and say something that irked me in this episode. On separate occasions, we witnessed Ben, Nick and Kelly put their feet on furniture while they still had their shoes on. It was only Vanessa who actually took their shoes off. It was enough to distract me as I was watching, so I thought I'll share this with you. I don't like missions involving creepy crawlies and coffins, and I don't like shoes on furniture. Anyway, back to the important stuff. Though in separate conversations Faye, Kelly, Oyen and Vanessa were discussing the possibility of one of the men being a traitor, I didn't think it was a realistic thing to believe that either of them would actually vote for one of them in this episode's roundtable. It very much felt like once again it was the women versus each other, while Ben and Nick reaped the benefits of a faithful being banished. Before the roundtable we saw the penultimate mission. I've seen the counting mission a few times, but I wouldn't say it was a super popular one used by other versions. This really tests keeping the correct count, not counting too fast or too slow. I would need to count in my head, but I wouldn't be good at this. Without the creepy people and noises, I would have lost my way anyway. It could be in complete silence and I would get muddled up. Before the roundtable, it looked like it was going to be either Faye or Oyen. I was actually surprised that it was Oyen that ended up being the victim of Joanna's banishment and not Vanessa. I've long thought that Vanessa was going to be banished soon. She's lasted longer than I anticipated. That wink between Vanessa and Ben could have been seen as very suspicious. It made me wonder if there was some sort of pre-roundtable agreement for Ben to vote with Vanessa. While we know their roles in the game, if anyone else noticed it, they might have some questions. While I thought the roundtable votes were going to be between Faye and Oyen, the roundtable discussion and accusations, whatever you call it, were mostly between Faye and Vanessa, with a sprinkle of Oyen. With what went down involving Joanna the previous night being the main topic, it just ended up being a lost cause for the faithfuls. This roundtable was tiresome. We only had a hint of what probably happened, and I had already had enough halfway through what was shown. I would probably put this as my least favourite roundtable in this season. My memory can't currently think of one in any other version that's worse, but it feels like it would be amongst them. If I didn't have to do this video about it, I would have just forwarded through to the vote. I was surprised by both Ben and Nick's vote for Faye. I thought Ben and Nick's plan was to take Faye to the final. Faye was the least likely to vote for them. What changed? Was I right in thinking that Ben had a pre-agreement with Vanessa and that was what the wink was about? Everyone voted for Faye while Faye voted for Oyen. With no murder taking place, we had our final five for the final. Traitors Ben and Nick versus the faithfuls Kelly, Oyen and Vanessa. Or should I really say, the traitors watching while it's the faithfuls versus the faithfuls. Ireland didn't bother to implement the seer power, I'm sure to the relief of anyone that saw UK Season 3, so we should just have some straightforward votes. Or will we? The episode ended with the five having dinner and seeing the human side of each other, discussing what they would do with the money. With just over €30,000 currently in the prize pot, I just have this little part of me that thinks that either Ben or Nick is going to turn on the other. I don't think they need to, but it's about how badly they want as much of the prize pot as possible. Can they buck the trend of traitors backstabbing each other and join the list of those that have won together? I'm still convinced the traitors will win this, it's just a matter of whether it will be two of them or just the one. It's going to take one big effort for the faithfuls to take a step back and question why both Ben and Nick are still in the game. Let's see who ends up with the win.